Hello and good morning for those who are tuning in live and those who are seeing the replay. Good day. Sam Tolbert, Sound of Joy Music Services, and I haven't been live here on the YouTube channel in a while, so I thought I would go live and just give some practical techniques and discussion about, if you see the title subject, why do musicians have to practice daily? It has come to my attention that there are some musicians who come to my channel and who are looking to, I like to call it, change their seats on the train of musician learning, and want to come in and just sound like the pros without putting in the work of the pros. So I'm kind of answering that viewer that requested that I should break down or slow down the level of instruction that I'm giving. I often try to um, be conscious of everyone that comes to my channel is not a 50 plus year musician. They are starting out perhaps later in life, where I got my start in music at 8 years old, trying to figure out what piano notes sound like. Some may be coming into this later in life, perhaps over 10, over 15, so they don't have that immersive hunger for learning how to learn. So I always try to start all of my videos off with the basic scale, no matter what key I'm in. And I do that purposely because if you're not, as the Bible says, train up a child in the way that they should go so that when they go old, they won't depart from it. I realize you're not a child perhaps physically in age, but you may be a child when it comes to the mental part of playing music. And it is 50% mental, 50% physical. You've got to be able to understand what a note is, how long to hold it in the instance of how you're playing it, how to play it correctly if you don't have a formal teacher. This is the correct way. You see me doing it now with the correct fingering. Get this right. I messed that up. For the left hand. And all that is training. That is the essence of understanding how you approach an instrument. Now, it's different in today's age where everyone wants instant gratification. They want to sit down and start playing automatically. And yes, I do watch the child prodigies, and I often have made mention as a church musician living in the New York area. I actually, for myself, watched the youngster, the child, Corey Henry, at 5 years old, playing the same chords I play on an organ. His only limitation was he couldn't reach the foot pedals, but he had left hand running bass lines and he had chords on his right hand. And I'm watching this child prodigy, Corey Henry, my physical eyes, not someone told me. I was there, and I marveled at where is this child going to go musically if he's able to grasp the gospel sound from a church standpoint at the age of 5 years old. Now, of course, a lot of things happened in his life, which I won't get into, but if you want to know about that, you can research that, a lot of the things that happened in his life. But he had parents who were musical also. He had a church that gave him an opportunity to display his talent. And as time went and as opportunities became his way, he grew in knowledge, but not staying in the church. In other words, by not staying in the church, I mean he didn't just limit himself to playing church music. He expanded his understanding through listening and through, I'm going to hope there was some mentoring that also went as he as he got older and got away from just playing church music. I tailored my site for the musician who wants to support their local church, but I also give an opportunity to spread the understandings that I received as a youngster as part of a jazz band so that I could hear the movements that piano players, organ players do, and without the book in front of me or an instructor or a mentor on my right or left side, figure out how are they moving across the keys with fingers. The advantage that a lot of musicians have today here on the YouTube space and over the internet is that gifted musicians who have learned the correct way of playing can, and sometimes monetize, nothing wrong with that, because I feel that when you do pay for something, you're more in depth to learn it, will have shown the movement, how to move across keys with their hands. Of course, I always stress that if you're going to become more proficient in your playing, you need to have a weighted keyboard. This is a weighted keyboard. Let's see if I still have an image of my entire keyboard. Let me give me a chance to swap pages here. Let's see. Let's go to this page. Nope. This page. Nope. I'm looking for the page that gives me my, and I switched up things a lot here, that shows my entire keyboard. All right, give me a chance to input my entire keyboard, because the whole idea is that you've got to be able to show your work and not just rely on conversation. Give me a chance to switch videos. There we go. So this is my keyboard. This is the Yamaha S70XS. You will see 100% of my videos done on this keyboard. This is where I get my most practice in weighted keys. And as you see, generally when I do display this keyboard with the Chord app, you only see a portion of my hands because I'm trying to get the entire the design of the page up. But I am generally, as you can see, my full hands and my wrist, they are placed not down, not too high, but they are placed across. In other words, I play like this. My fingers do the playing. So when I show you a chord or a scale, you see my wrist stays straight. I did not have an instructor teach me to do this. As I watched others play, and as I purchased books that give me the placement of how you should roll your fingers across notes, it became a natural for me to keep my wrist straight, not to be in constant movement like this when I'm playing. Yes, there are times when I want to chop. But that's that technique. If I've heard someone else do it, I watched a video where there was a gentleman teaching this. And I was doing that back in my teens, swapping fingers. Now it works best on an organ because it's much more responsive. But this is just an exercise I would do to get my fingers loosened up. And I would do it on the scale. Because I knew when I play, all the fingers have to be in play. Not too good on my left hand. But these are all techniques. Just getting my, here we go. This is what I'm doing. Swapping every finger. I was never a drummer, although I did sit in a class where they were teaching drummers. But this is what I would practice, so that when I want to do this, I would have the speed necessary so that if I heard a piece of music that someone was playing and they're jumping across, I would be able to, just by listening, hear the notes and find which fingers are more comfortable to make that shift. Not just in the, the jazz scale, minor scale, but if I wanted to change keys, there it is. Trying to miss that note. In whatever key I'm in, I'm trying to do B sharp, B minor. Listening in my ears. There it is. Once my ears have come into tune with what I'm trying to do, my fingers now go find those notes. And then I can find the chord based upon what I'm hearing. So, but this is, change my scene. This is what practicing is all about. Wrong page. There we go. This is what practicing is all about. Finding your place musically. Where do you want to be? Now, because I never sat with a formal teacher, there was no one to direct me. Well, you should look to go to jazz. You should look to go to the classics. You should look to go to song composition. You should look to go to playing for a church. I think churches is generally where a lot of musicians get started, because that's where they're introduced to other musicians who are playing music. The school systems did not have, at least from my school system, did not have pianos for young people, but they did have, and I always pull this out because I love to do show and tell. Keep it handy. When my musical journey began, even though I had a piano in the household, this is where my musical journey began. This is not the exact flute I had, but this is what I use for my example. And I do pick it up, and I do play sometimes some notes out of it. But the path to music began with learning Mary Had a Little Lamb and row, row, row your boat. Let's see if I can still find those notes. F, I believe. Again, that's where my musical journey began, on this. And having sheet music in front of me where we would learn the notes and I applied it to an instrument that we were playing. Yes, I became very good at playing this, but I did not stay here. When I went to high school, they put a French horn, junior high school. They didn't have these in junior high school, but they put a French horn, which I still have in my one of my storage closets. I have the French horn that I learned on, which they presented to me after I graduated because I did so well. When I went to high school, they did not have music for French horn But they put a mellophone in my hand, and then I became a mellophone player, which is like a fat downgrade from a French horn, E-flat instrument. But in that whole process of being exposed to theory of music, that's when I began to get that love for the sound of it. So I would go back to my piano at my mom's house, my father's house, the parents' home, and what I learned practicing on my French horn, I would go to the piano and try to memorize what I was hearing and started finding the notes using the incorrect fingering, what I was hearing. Not using the correct notes, I would get to hear and wouldn't know how do I get from here to the next note. But a book taught me switch underneath, shift the thumb to get there so that it turns on the thumb. A book showed me if I go to D flat, I don't start on the thumb, but I start on the second finger and let the thumb ride across to these two notes. Just that theory right there opened up the world of playing scales and then hearing melodies and then assigning the correct fingering to playing those melodies. So when I get the comments of, well, can you slow it down? I'm like, well, okay. How about I speed you up from where you are? If you're currently not, I often would say, if you want to test the skill set of a musician, ask them to play Mary Had a Little Lamb in any key, just the melody, and see if they know what note to start on. If they have a good ear and have practiced scales, they will know it always starts on the third note of whatever scale. Key of A. Key of F sharp, G flat. Key of E, G sharp or A flat for those. And of course, B major, which people hate to play in. It's the E flat, D sharp. That gives me for me, that is my test for any musician who's asking me for help with learning songs. I will ask them, play for me the Mary Had a Little Lamb in any key you want. The minute they ask me what chord, then I know that they don't practice scales. That has always been an actual pet peeve of mine. How can I teach you chords if you don't know what scales the chords come from? I had a live on my Facebook page yesterday, and a comment was posted. Now, again, I wasn't going to be disrespectful, but I had to give my understanding through the theory of music. When the statement was made, not all chords are built on a scale, and I had to comment that may be your understanding, but my understanding has always been you cannot have a chord without it being a part of a scale. The very first note in that chord denotes what scale you're starting in, and then the two notes after that determine is it a major scale or a minor scale. That's the C major scale, major. Flatting the third note makes it a C minor scale. So sometimes we don't, the Bible says, in all thy getting, get an understanding. I always try to give an understanding because I want a musician to understand when you see me play chords, why am I putting those chords together? What scale am I building that chord from? It's not just a 2, 5, 1. That is the next step in learning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of a scale. So the first step is to learn the scale, major. that would exist. So when you want to add a chord to the second note of the scale, now the chords are built on a scale. And I often say, if you look at this scale, this chord I'm building, the notes are found in the B flat major scale. Now I want to switch it. Now I'm out of the scale because I'm throwing in an off note. Get a whole different tone. Now, what scale is this built on? Chord app is telling me a B7 sharp to 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got an octave here. I don't know what scale this is. In fact, I can hear it. It's actually clashing with my ears. That's a more better chord. Now, that sounds a lot better. Let this note be the off note to give me that jazz tone. Two, 5, 1, 6, 3, no, 7, 3, 6. Now the numbers is just giving the lowest note a place to land in the scale of B flat. 2, 5, but now I've just changed all the keys, but it's still in that family. But those chords is, guess what? In the scales. Now, this chord is not. Why? Because of that note. But that's the off tones, the sharp or the flat that you would add in to give the chord a whole different tone. Key of C. But guess what? In the B flat major scale, the 2 note is a C, so you can borrow that chord. That's the technique. That's what I go off on, away from the very basics. So for those who are watching this, who may see the replay of this, when you're asking me to help you with a song you need to learn for your particular church, your ministry, your praise team, I will always give you theory behind each of the breakdown without really going into, and I realize you may get ads sometimes, without really going into all of the technical part of it. There we go. Going into all of the technical part of it, because you're in a rush to learn a song. But when I do an actual series, which I've done quite a few series over the past 2 years on scales, chords, patterns, and progressions, that is to build your skill set where you may be lacking. You don't see me telling you to do this. I haven't given you that, but I have given you this. Just so that you can hear how to practice, see how to practice that. This is just scales. If you want to call it, they call it major thirds here. Let's go here, because I'm set up for C major. I'm looking at the name that it's been given. 2 notes, but they're giving, because they are following the path of the scale. If you were doing the number system, this is all I'm doing, but I'm splitting it up. It's because that tone you will hear being played in a lot of gospel songs. There it is. I used to practice that just so I can hear what that sounds like. And it's really going from C, let me see, into F. Now I'm in the F scale. Which is a way to go from the 1 to 4. Versus doing it chord-wise. A shortened way of actually doing that movement. I try to give all of the long lessons I learned as a youngster without assistance of the internet into an actual shortened version to help accelerate the musician who does not have a mentor, does not have an instructor, does not have even a musician co-worker with them that is willing, and I use the term willing because I understand what I went through as a youngster and with no assistance, willing to share what they know out of the fear of that person may get better than them. I've never had that fear. I've always wanted musicians to have an opportunity to go beyond what I can do because I knew how much I wanted. If I wanted to be a classical musician, then I would be taking classical courses from a classical instructor who would probably tell me, forget everything that you've learned in the past. That's not going to help you here. Do this. I still can't do that right. Why? Because I did not study to do that. I looked at that as, okay, I can't do that without really undercutting everything that I've heard as a musician immersed in the sound of music through my entire life. I hear because I was immersed in the sound of jazz, the big band sound. That's what I hear. Yes, I would be thrown out of the class for disrupting the discipline of the class because they would go, well, how can you do that without seeing sheet music? I committed to memory. Where are the notes? What are the associated chords that follow the path of that song? How would I want to hear them in a big band setting or in a church setting? When I can hear how I might want it to sound, then I pull in on everything that as a young musician I practiced by myself trying to figure out, well, gee, how do they make that tone? How does this sound like that? How do they do? There we go. So those are the things that I draw on: the improv, the jazz um, playing by feel. I guess that's what the word I'm trying to put. What am I feeling at that time? Am I feeling or am I feeling A major or sus, is it right? Add to. But if I don't know that those notes exist and that I could pull from what I've been practicing for years, as I say, why do musicians practice? If you look at the description, which I use Chat GPT to give me a description as to why musicians, piano players practice. It says piano players practice daily to hone their skill, refine technique, to deepen musical understanding. That's why, since I was, and I'm gonna get what age was I really practicing? Probably 12 years old when I began to just sit to the piano and look for understanding of where notes are. I've been still looking to deepen my understanding of what could potentially come out of a sound of an instrument. Excuse me, my seat drops. And an instrument that is placed in front of me. Now, yes, for the majority of my life, more than half of it, I served the church community, so I was limited as to how far I could extend my music. Yes, I did take some liberties in certain types of song. If it required an up-tempo song, then I would lean in on my jazz theory of bass movement. You won't find any course teaching you how to do that for church music. But if you wanted to apply it, if you applied that, back in my day, we didn't have bass players at the hand. So I wanted to hear that bass movement. So I learned how to think like a bass player and learn how to bounce. Again, that's where that came into play. But it always had to be within a rhythm. I was looking to see if I can hook up my rhythm pattern, but I'm using the iPad for something else. How to hear more than just one note on the bass hand. How to jump octaves. This is the skill that I practice, not just, welcome, Brother Mitchell, not just on church days, but when I'm not in church, I would practice. And I would use it for church. Again, I was never picked up to do studio work or never asked to be part of a traveling team. I was 100% available for church use, but that does not mean that I was 100% just only learning hymns. I wasn't just learning hymns. And when I was learning a hymn, that was Abide With Me. I would look at the song as, well, what chord could I add with that? Mm, mm. And I would begin to add movement that wasn't scripted, that wasn't put into a hymnal, that wasn't taught, but I could hear the movement from other songs I would play. And the fun part was when I decided to go up to a half a step up and see if I can do the same thing. And then I would hear different tones and a different approach. I heard the bass moving up. Jazz turn, jazz walk up. Contemporary. Now I know I'm going to a G, give me A flat chord, but I can get there from E flat. Back to D flat. Now I can go on more contemporary chords. Diminished chord. Now when I call these terms diminished chord, jazz chords, these are the language that I did not get as a youngster. But as I watch other musicians on the internet teach jazz, I'm hearing what they call it, diminished chord. And the Chord app helps me to define whether or not I'm speaking correctly. Minor diminished chord, major chord with a 7, major chord with a 7 in A, flat straight 7, major 7, diminished chord, there it is, minor, major 7, minor 6, or minor 7th chord, there's my minor chord, major chord, 7th chord, 7th chord, octaves, major chord. But I would never stop there. I would change key because I needed to challenge myself. What does old school church sound like or consist of? Search me, search me, oh God. What does old school church sound like? Welcome, Josiah. Old school church is a mixture of jazz by a self-taught musician. It's like someone that can speak broken English. You kind of understand what they're saying, and if they keep saying it the same way, after a while, you do understand what they're saying. Search me, oh God, church. Gee, search me, oh God, search me, oh God. That song is not really hitting me. Is that the one that shine a light on heaven? Let me see. Search me, Lord. Search me, Lord. Search me, Lord. Shine the light on heaven. If you find anything that should not be, Lord, I want to be right. I want to be whole right. If that's the correct song. Search me, Lord. Search me, Lord. Jazz. Search me, Lord. Shine the light on heaven, on my soul. Find anything that should not be. Take it, take it. I want to be right. 2, 5, 1. So when I say broken jazz, that back then they only knew the minor, the major, the 6, the 5, the 1, the 4 with the minor 6. If they do the diminished chord, I want to be right. The 6, the 2, 5, 1. Because I have a desire to have motion in any song I play. I'll hear the melody and then begin to apply motion to it. As you watch Search Me, Lord, there's my motion. If you find anything that should not be, bum, 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 bum. I wanna be bum, 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 bum. Jazz. Always motion. No bass. Turn the light from heaven. Bouncing. So it becomes a exercise, a practice for me. When I was playing church songs, if that's the song, correct song, I'm not sure if that's what you search me, oh God. When you say old school church sound, um, old school church was limited to the musicians who were playing. Now you're more trained musicians who could play hymns and anthems and read sheet music couldn't do that because that was not their genre. It was the traveling musician who came in, got a chance to sit in, and when they were doing testimony service, they could apply that skill set. Yeah, I was the musician as a youngster when I began to got my opportunity to play for a church back in. I still remember this like it was yesterday, second Sunday of April 1973, when I requested could I play the grand piano Steinway that no one wanted to play because everyone wanted to play the organ, and I got the opportunity. I wasn't learning how to play the Steinway. I was already at a level of I could understand the placement of chords around music. So when they would we're marching to, not marching, marching to Zion. Come, we that love the Lord and let our joy be known. I really knew the chords that would associate the melody because they always sung it like a Baptist church. The children basic chords. Now that was the skilled musicians playing directly from the hymn book. A lot of melody and your basic chords. When I would hear the song, if I got a chance to play, I would hear da, 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 da. That's what I would give or lend to the song. Now, yes, it made some other musicians uncomfortable because I knew how to walk a song with bass, chords, progressions, but that was the area. Well, it's advanced, Josiah. Yeah, that's a good statement. Yes, it is advanced. It is what the word skill is. It is what says that you went a lot further than just being able to chord. Nothing wrong with that though, because that has been going on for many years before I began playing. But when I was introduced to the movement of big band, I could not release myself from hearing that every time I sat down to play any song. Again, you take the very basic song that you could hear, like Mary Had a Little Lamb in C. That's the scales, knowing the land on the correct note. But now build the chord around that. Well, how do you want to build the chord? Use the number system. 1, 5, 1, 5. Okay, so the 1 and the 5 will get you through that song and probably get you a job somewhere. But if you want to become inventive, then you want to look past the basic systems. Let's add a 7th in there. Put a 7th on the 2 to lead us to the 5 with a 7th on it. But let's put a diminished chord in there, leading us to the 5 with a 7th on it. Let's put a minor 6, diminished, a major, diminished chord. This one, I have to see what this one is called, an E7. That's your classical turn or your small word turn or jazz turn. What did I just do there? I showed you the basics: scales, chords, progressions. As you can see what I have: scales, chords, progressions. That's how I hear music. I hear the scale of the melody, which is where the melody comes from. I hear the bass chords, which is the number system. Then I hear outside the number system. Those are the chords. What is it? 7ths, minor 6s. It's diminished, right? There we go. The approative chords, and then I begin to mix and match. What sounds good? Does it sound good starting on a major or on a minor? Or put a major 7th on it. Again, the more notes you begin to add, the more chords you have to pick from. But if you don't know the chords exist, which is why I've had this series. The page should still be up there. Let's see, floater page. Right. If you don't know all of these chords that you see right there exist, then you won't know that you have a buffet of chords to pick from. That is what, I don't look good there. Camera positioning. That is why I had the series on piano chord fundamentals. These are the chords I did not know existed, and that I could now, like being at a buffet, or all-you-can-eat buffet, pick and choose. How do I want to apply? What chord do I want to apply to Mary Had a Little Lamb in the key of? We'll go to an off key, E major. But if I don't know that all these chords exist in E major, and that I can do 2, 5, 1 in C sharp, and from there go right back to the chords in E major. Throw a diminished chord, a jazz turn in the, then go back and use that 2, 5, 1. Diminished chord, right? Where do I go from here? 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There it is. 2, 5, or 2, 5, 1. And then throw that cadence in there. If I don't know those chords exist, but I hear someone else playing and I'm sitting there in awe, wow, those guys really sound good. Well, they sound great. He or she sounds great because they know about the chords that are not being shared by all other musicians. So I try and my attempt is to not hide what chords are, how they are formed, why they are formed, how they are applied in every song you hear. Omit it. Sometimes some songs just have drop two, drop two, which is melody, or and just drop the second note. And remember when I was doing this? That's why you practice this. To train your hands how to play drop two. Just add the second note. Look at my notes. There it is. That's why I push, I secretly throw in techniques in a lot of, even what I'm showing you right now. I'm showing a lot of techniques that I learned as a youngster to let you know that it exists, so that if you ever hear someone playing drop two chords, you look at how they get into that note. Wait a minute, Mr. Talbot showed me how to do this, not just in one key, but in every key. And he said, just practice it. And when you put into practice, which is what practicing daily means, practicing just the things that you want to work on, so that when you're now in a performance mode, and I believe I did do a series on practice, I forget what it was, that 3 words. That had 3 P's. Practice, prepare, and perform, I believe it was. I did a series on that. That is why your practicing is not during the time that you are performing. Your practicing is like what I'm doing right now. Even though I'm having this live stream with those that are here, I'm still practicing. I have a video up to be created for one of the viewer requests, but I haven't practiced yet. But I've been practicing, even having this conversation, not to play, not to use what I've been doing in that particular song that I'm going to learn, but just to be able to keep my skills set at a level where I want it to be. As I say, I'm not a classical musician, I'm not a jazz musician, but I am an accomplished church musician, experienced. I don't like to use the word professional, because if I'm professional, then I would have been paid correctly for the skill set that I brought. So I was I use the term performing church musician. If your church started and they're in A flat and they're doing a testimony song, I'm so glad Jesus lifted me, I have to be able to sit there and go, okay, key of A flat, starting on the 1, I'm so glad, 6, 2, no 5, Jesus lifted me, stay in the 5, I'm so glad, back into the 1, Jesus lifted me, stay in the 1, put a 7th on there, go to the 4th, diminish, 5, 5 plus 6, 2, 5, 1. So I had to be prepared that whatever key they started the song in, as a performing church musician, I was in sync. So now if the service is dragging a bit and I want to pick it up, I'll throw some jazz in there. And now the service picks up. Why? Because I'm introducing knee-slapping jazz techniques, jazz tones on a congregational song. Now, would I do that to a hymn? If need be, yes. If I was going to do, oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, there's 5, oh, love Jesus. 5, 1, 3, 6, 1, 7, 1, 5. That's traditional. Throw a couple of jazz or 7 tones in it. But if I see the congregation is somewhat lagging, then I would just drop into a jazz mode. Jazz. And I did a whole series on my YouTube channel. Is it jazz or is it gospel? Because there are some that would make comments, well, you're playing for the Lord. No, I'm playing for you. God already knows what I sound like. There's no chord I can invent that the Spirit of God has not already heard or has not placed in me, ready for me to show it to you, either through performance or through instruction. So what I do is to show you how my practice routine, the discipline that I've learned as an instrumentalist, transferred into when I sit down to whatever instrument I'm on, be it piano or organ, and I'm able to now perform what I've been practicing. But this, as they say, if you don't use it, you might lose it. I don't know what that means. I've been retired now, going on 3 years from full-time church musician um, activities. I'll use that term. The activities, which means I was always in preparation 3 months in advance before the service starts, being able to keep my skills up, learning new music or taking old music and repurposing it for different eras of different years of the church cycle and learning new songs. The praise music was a little bit of a decline for me because it did not challenge me, but then I would always go back into it and say, well, gee, if I wrote it, what would I have done to give it a little more life than just doing a 1, a 6, a 4, and a 5 for an entire song? I would do a 1, I would do a 3 to get to the 6, then I do a 2, 5, 1 to get to the 4, another 2, 5, 1 to get to the 5, which is jazz terminology, jazz thinking, just to give a little more life to a song. For those that like to do more than anything, that song I don't consider, that's more of an urban jazz song. Da, 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 da. I don't consider that your praise type of song. That's got more of an urban contemporary sound. Remember I was practicing this? I gotta think of chords. Welcome, Benjamin. What particular things should we practice on the keyboard in order to play gospel music? Everything, but have it in a disciplined way. Like I've already shown you where I do double notes, so I can throw in, so I can throw that into a song like More Than Anything. And this came from Stand. That, let me see, Stand, after you've done everything you can, after you've done. Everything I do has a purpose to it, even though I'm practicing it as a single movement. Even though it may seem like it's mundane, I practice it so that at any moment I want to bring it in, my mind goes, hey, that would sound pretty good right there. Can I work that together? but I got to be able to stop it, find the chord, and then resolve it. But for gospel music, you have to embrace the mindset of a jazz musician. And you can only embrace the mindset of a jazz musician is to be in the presence of musicians playing jazz. You know that that's the what's the term? 8-bar blues. Now, am I saying play jazz? No. Play elements of jazz, whatever song you happen to be in. If you're doing Down at the Cross or Glory to His Name, that can be done like jazz. Same patterns, except you extract what you want to use. There's my walk down. Contemporary turn or jazz turn to the 6th. 7th, 2, 5, 1 in D flat. Diminished chord. Minor 6. A full 6 chord over the 5 with an A6, A flat 6, right? That is a jazz turn. To get to the 4. If I were in the key of D flat, that'd be a 4, 3, flat to 3, 2, 5, 1. How do I get the chords? Five, 1. Or, and if you were a jazz musician, you learn this. That is a jazz song. I'm not sure which one, but I learned that early, very early in my life, so that when I learned that and practiced going down chromatic scales and dropped and changed where I got them going, I can now add that to playing church music. A lot of musicians, because they were not exposed as I was to the big band sound, the big band sound taught me high, middle, bottom. But if you're not exposed to that from musicians, not from people who just play. Some guys can just play and they're good, say in A flat. But now do that in let's go A major. B, D, turn to be 5, and A major. Practicing is all about applying an actual discipline. And I have several videos on YouTube on this channel that show you what to practice as a church musician. Now, as a jazz musician, I did do a series on is it gospel, is it jazz? I did a series on the natural chord system and how it is used. In my experience, in gospel music, being that I was never taught the number system. So I went to the internet and learned from professional musicians. Like, I appreciated when some professional musicians corrected me in my terminology on my series, and I thanked them for that correction. And I also put it back in the next video that I misnamed a particular chord in a jazz series. But this is the information that has been hidden from a majority, and I say majority, 95% of the practicing church musicians out there. There are some who do know this, and they are the ones that are being idolized by a lot of musicians as they're great. Well, they're great because they have the information they won't share with you. I can listen to a musician play and break down what they're doing. Everything, every part of it. I choose not to do that because I'm not about exposing what a musician is doing to another musician, but I'd rather give you the same tools that I would hope they got their practice or their chords from, and show you how they built that chord that you hear them playing in this particular song, not a particular musician's style. If I wanted to break down a particular musician, I'm disciplined enough, even at the ripening age, to be able to. Can you please reference the practice videos again? Versatile Vic. Um, what you can do is go to my main channel page and go to the search engine on that page and just type in the name of what you're looking for, jazz, or you can type in gospel and jazz, or you could type in the Nashville number system. I've got 2,300 plus videos on my channel. And in the past 2 years, I probably added 1,500 of those channels, and they cover the gambit, not just requests from viewers, but the different series that I introduced to help musicians to build a repertoire or a reference library. So just go into the search engine and type in uh, church chords, because I'm doing a series for organ coming up for organists in May. Sunday church chords, which means they're going to learn the songs that used to make church sound like church. That's coming up for August, but I do have snippets of that in a lot of my other videos prior to that series. But look for scales, chords, progressions. There's probably 20 videos scattered out in that series. Go to the playlist and look at the playlist. Look for anything that has, in fact, I talk about it. Let me pull up my playlist while I'm here. Excuse my side, because I can share my page. That's a good question that you have. I can pull up my own page and then share what it looks like. Okay. I'm glad you asked that. Where'd it look? Let's go to, what's an empty page I can use? I'm sorry about that. Thank you for typing that in. I didn't even notice that I wasn't on this page. I didn't have my sound turned on. Let me go back. Let me go back. Home. Okay, that is the main page. This is where everything Sound of Joy resides. I have it broken down into playlists, or you can do a search. Under the search engine, if you wanted to learn, well, how do I play? Um, I want to learn to play the song, we'll go Blessed Assurance. If you type in Blessed Assurance, any videos that I created with the word Blessed Assurance comes in will become available to you. The traditional way, as a lesson for someone else, in different keys, in different sounds, why this is so important to play. That's one of the earlier videos when I didn't have the Chord app, but again, it's there. I don't know why Amazing Grace is there with Blessed Assurance, but I guess anything with the word blessed in it will actually pop up, and you will see there's organ tips, there are chords, there are how to use basic jazz chords with a hymn. So even what I'm talking about, why do I say jazz it up here? This is the video that would show how I assigned jazz chords to a hymn, because it was just a blanket question. The organs will also pop up in there, but as you can see, there is just videos. And again, it's 2,300 videos, so you're going to get everything that I had put together in order to help musicians become more comfortable in playing for their church. Now, that's by typing in a in the search engine, which is really a place to go for learning particular songs, especially the ones that are viewer requests. There's over almost 400 viewer request songs there. But if you want to go to the playlist, which is where I was talking about, is where there are specific instructions. Now, is there a specific instruction for the first time you've never played before? No. There are so many other sites on the internet that will take you from step A to step B, the correct way to learn how to play. I look for the musician who is currently in church and who needs to catch up right now, let's say right quick and in a hurry. But I do cover learn basic chords in every key. This is one playlist. If you were to go into there, let's take out that sound. You will see here everything that is covered under that playlist. Key of F, Jesus' name, I adore thee, Psalms, rugged cross, fountain filled with blood. And this playlist is stock full of instructions, and each one of these instructions cover what I cover: scales, chords, progressions. Is that the end of it? Okay, that's the end of what's in that playlist. Let's close that down. Then there's the Pro Series. The Pro Series is for the advanced musicians who want to understand when they watch me play, how do I know to throw those chords in it? That's a whole series there. Software, if you want to get into the software. Gospel music theory, this is when this is where you're going to find the breakdown. Let's shut me off. Of the Nashville number system and gospel music. That's right here. You see that one highlighted. Tips for playing piano better. Taking a look at relative Nashville minor number system. I have my own version of the number system. When I did not know of the number system, I created my own way to assign chords to every key in the scale, which has helped me, which I still use now. Gospel chords using the circle of fourths. I made sure to do a series on how I find my chords. I put a lot of stuff in here. I need to go back in, clean some of this up. Left right hand chords 101, a beginner's guide for church musicians. So I was mindful of young musicians who come to my channel and they go, well, can you show me how to use my left hand? I did a whole series. I did a series on steal these chords. The chords I use, I would slow it down in a song purposely so that you can look and copy and apply. Oh, this is for the organist. Again, I always try to look out for not just for piano players, but for organ players also. I throw contemporary chords, Speak to My Heart, which is the Wyden song, so that you can do what? So that you can learn these chords and add, pardon me, as a reference for you. So many. Finding diminished chords in every key, beginner's guide. Sorry for the ads over there. But these are the things that are already on the site to build your skill set so that, get back to the main page. There we go. Sometimes when I'm making all these videos and I go through my own chart to see how many videos I have where, I'm amazed that, wow, you did 100 videos this month. When do you take time to breathe? I don't. But there are series, there are requests, there are lessons, there are the live streams like I'm doing right now, which usually run about an hour to 2 hours, sometimes 2.5 hours, where I'm showing concept, where I'm talking through the actual theory of what I play and what I instruct. I shy away from the word teach because in order to teach, you should have been taught. I wasn't taught, but I did immerse myself in the particular sound so that I can hear every note in a scale, be it a major scale or a minor scale or a diminished scale or a minor sixth scale. As I hear the songs using them, I look and I go, okay, where did they build this scale? What scale did they build this chord from? That's what I do. I show what I know. Contemporary gospel, spirituals, for those who have never played spirituals, you may find yourself being asked to play in the month of October is generally African American History Month. Churches may lean on playing spiritual songs. I did a course on that, on how to play certain songs and also how I play them, not just as a throw-in song, but as an actual solo. We got the Hammond organ sound, traditional hymns. When I was doing Skype lessons, and I'll go to this page, I would do summaries for the Skype students. I would share those summaries. The Skype student paid for the lesson. You got the summary as part of my support for musicians who maybe cannot afford to pay me to break down songs for them. So I would share the summary on my YouTube channel for that. Clark Sister Selections, Glory Patri, All Things Come of Thee. This is the doxology type songs. There's Blessed Assurance in the key of D major. These are old videos also, because when I had Skype lessons, I didn't have the Chordy app, didn't have a software that could run the Chordy app and do a video. So there are the older videos, but as you can see, the keyboard is still the same. I had this keyboard now since 2008. But as far as formal lessons go, if you were to sit with a formal teacher, he wouldn't have an electronic image of a keyboard in front of you. This is what you would be seeing. So I try to make it as real to life as it could possibly be, again showing the correct fingering placement for what was being covered. So that is, and again, these are available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Chord of the day. This is when I did a series. In fact, I probably need to bring that. Well, I still add to it anytime I play, you're getting chords where I would just showcase chords that you don't hear all the time, and I would give you the actual progressions, how to play chords around a bass pattern, how to use the gospel piano voicing in G flat, how to chord Carol the Bells for Christmas, feel good chords in the key of F, how to create smooth chords. This is the things that other musicians would hide from you. Sweet Holy Spirit. I believe we have Pentecost Sunday coming up. So I did a chord of the day, how to chord around Sweet Holy Spirit. And then these are spur of the moment. Let me just put that out there type of lessons. Again, for the advanced musicians. For those who weren't advanced, then you get the breakdown where you see the actual chordy app to show you what the chord names are and where they're located. We sing praises, take me back. These are all chords of the day, chords that you could learn to add to your repertoire that you could pull out and use whenever you want to. As I was demonstrating to you, I could pull out chords in Donnie McClurkin's Stand and just put it in with Glory to His Name because of the actual progressions. Gospel piano keyboard riffs, how to create them. All the things that are necessary to get musicians as much information as I possibly could in a way that is in an instructional format. Again, I shy away from the term teach. Oh Happy Day, jazzy version, which is so that I'm not interfering with the YouTube copyright watchers, because they do watch a lot of my music when I play chords that it gets triggered by the AI. I get a copyright infringement. So I said, well, gee, let me just do it with a jazzy format, which is the 1/4/5/6 format, as a jazz musician would show or that you would hear. My series on the gospel bounce. How do I bounce my chords? I did a whole series on learning what I call the gospel bounce. Jazz musicians might call it stride or New Orleans stride. I never learned the jazz way of technology or theory, but I did learn as coming up what I wanted the music to sound like. I wanted it to actually bounce.
It doesn't look like you have an app named Bounce. You can search for it in the
Okay,
App Store.
Siri's listen to me. That's okay, Siri. My Siri just turned on because it heard me. It heard me. Yeah, turn that off. I hate when this happens. All right, there we go. So the references are there. Search bar or go into the playlist to see um, what I have already put on the site. Viewer requests is it's always a good place to go because I do the breakdown of what the actual song sounds like from the album. I'm not allowed to play it. Some of them in the lives I have played it, and then I've allowed to let you get my copyright notifications. They're not strikes. I allow the notifications to stay so that you can see when I show you how a song sounds, where they're getting their chords from in that particular key. When you want to um, learn specific techniques, there's a delay when I'm actually watching this on my iPad and I'm waiting for the page to change back to. When you want to learn specific techniques, I also show that, but you have to search for what that technique is. If it's the bounce, then you'll have to search for the bounce or go to the playlist and go through the videos. Maybe take a early Saturday morning, get up at 6 a.m. and position your device, be it an iPad, computer, or your iPhone, and Watch, why hasn't that changed yet? Oh, there it is. So that you can pick and choose what particular, if you want to call that your practice session, because I always try to visibly show where my hands are. I'll hold a chord, let you hear the chord, make sure that you can see where it's built from, what the designated chord name is based upon my computer software. Because if you were to ask me what chord this is, I'd have to say, well, it's an A6, and I'm adding a seventh note in there, so now it becomes a 13th, and I'm adding a lowest note is an A flat, E flat, G flat, C, E flat, F, and A flat. And it's called an A flat 13, NO9. I'm not sure what the NO means. Where's there a ninth note at? There is a ninth note. Major 6, major 6, major 6, and that throws in the 13th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a 7th in there. This is when it gets technical, and that is for the advanced musicians who are watching me play and says, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And you're correct. That's why I have the assistance of software. But I can talk to what tone that is and how I use it. If I'm in the A flat or if I'm in a G and I want to get to the 4, which is the C, I can use the 2, 5, 1, flat 7, and I'll go right back to the 1, which again, filling it up with an A9 sus 4. And I believe the sus is this note. Or an add 2, depending upon where the lowest note is. This is all the how complex, giving music its proper name. Wherever the root is, that starts it. That's the father. These are all the children added on. But the minute you change the note, the father now changes to the lowest note. What was it? Make it really advanced. Yeah, it does make it really advanced. But that's why I excuse me, rubbing my eye. That's why I give you the root of every chord I play is based on a scale, and I'll give you what that scale is based upon how I've used that song, how I use that chord in a particular song. Again, our gospel songs of today are rooted in the number system, but from I'll call it a contemporary standpoint. We're going to do the 1 and go to the 6 and go to the 5. They're using a sus sound. They're taking out the 3rd. All sus, that's what you're hearing. Or you're hearing that. But if you don't know it exists, then you'll be watching other content creators, which again I have no problem with them because I'm learning also how they're assigning those tones. But the past in me is saying, well, why are they leaving out that? Why won't they play the D? That fills the tone up. So I'll add it in there. Because I want to hear it. I'll give you that grace note. Welcome, Alex. As a beginner, where should I start? Is it bad to just learn songs off YouTube? Alex, it depends upon how you define yourself as a beginner. I often say uh, the minute that you sit down to a keyboard and you start to make an audible sound that is pleasing to hear, you began the road of a musician. Now, from a beginner, that's for me, not having sat with a formal music teacher that opens up a book to me and says, okay, here's how you form your hands, and you'll use your thumb, that's one, index finger is two, your middle finger is three, your fourth finger is five, your fourth finger is four, and your fifth finger is five. That's beginner. Let me pull up another reference book that I've used in the past, because you have a very good, very legitimate question. Because I did address beginners back in my early days on AOL. I said, let me do this. Let's switch. Okay. Let's close that down. I did address beginners back in my early days on the internet because I knew that there were going to be first-time musicians coming over from playing drums or playing bass and being thrust into the responsibility of supporting a service, and I needed them to have information. This is a workbook I developed. This is the 7th version of it that I developed. This is the 2011. This is how old this is, 2011. And I put this course book when I was on the internet, and I was actually teaching a course, one of the first on the internet teaching a course for free. I must always put that out that I was doing this for free. And this is for Alex and for those who are watching. I put together a workbook, and what I included in there was the lessons I learned from actual theory. So if you're a new musician to where you've never sat down and had a formal music class, this workbook was downloadable back in that era. Over 600,000 downloads to my last time that I was actually monitoring it. I needed to be able to establish first-time musicians with a discipline. So I put a prayer, which I got from the internet. I didn't come up with this prayer, but I just changed some of the words so that it applied to a musician. As a beginner, where should I start? This is where I would always say you would start, so that you could discipline yourself for what you're asking for. Once you got through with the prayer, and I have no problem reciting the prayer, because it is what I use as a backdrop to how I live my life, number one, and I lived it as a church musician. Oh Lord, please bless this music that it might glorify your name. May the talent that you have bestowed upon me be used only to serve you. Let this music be a witness of your majesty and love. I'm watching myself, hear myself talk. And remind us that you are always watching and listening from your throne above. May your presence and beauty be found in every note played, so that it reaches the hearts of your people and draw them closer to you. May your spirit guide us through every measure so that we might be the instruments of your peace and proclaim your glory. Amen. That's where, for me, for the musician who wants to serve a church in ministry, who wants to give 100% of their ability that is embedded in them, and who wants a guide as to how to draw that out. Then, what should a beginner know? Well, as you see, I broke it down into new musician, not beginner, new musician. That's why I said if you can go to a piano and get an audible note out of it that is pleasing to hear, then you're not a beginner. You are a new musician. And you get, welcome, Jonathan. Thank you. I'll post my email address on Gmail and just email me and I'll send it to you free of charge. When you get the mindset of being a musician, even when I was playing, when I started as early as 8 years old in public school with this instrument and started playing Mary Had a Little Lamb and Roll, Roll, Roll Your Boat and Hot Cross Buns, I was not a beginner. I was a musician because I was now playing audible notes off of sheet music that was pleasing to the ear. I always kept that theory in my head, even when I was in church and they would call me, oh, he just played the piano. I said, no, I'm not a piano player. I'm a musician. And I stand on that even today. I'm a retired church musician. I'm a retired musician who played for churches primarily. That was where 100% of my playing was for churches. I didn't play concerts, jazz bands, studio work. I was centered in supporting church ministries for a good 48 consecutive years. So I consider myself a retired church musician. I can play any kind of music, as you can see. I can find the styles that can fit church music, but that's what I considered myself, and still consider myself a retired church musician. But back to your question, Brother Mitchell. I already sent this book to you several times. If you want to pay me for it, and I've sent it to you already several times, you can we can work that out. But you've gotten it for free. Check your Facebook Messenger. I've sent it to you at least 4 times already, I believe. This is where a musician starts, and these are from uh, piano books that when I was going to start training young people the proper way to play, the training I did not receive as a youngster, this is where you start. You need to know what your hands are used for and how to train your hands. But not only train your hands, but train your eyes. By training your eyes, as you can see, there is a paper keyboard there with the designated note names. So you've got your fingering, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on your left hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on your right hand, and the designated note names that help you to, and beginning notes also, that gives you the proper way you should learn how to do music, not just chords. This is nice to know that this is the 1, and this is the 6, and this is the 4, and this is the 5. That's the shortcut. That's let me do this now so I can participate in music. But when you want to learn it correctly, which is what I did not get as a youngster, I didn't get this until I actually purchased books. This is where you start. And then I give you the reason why you want to learn scales. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, in all thy getting, get an understanding. Let me just get that out of the way. I will give you the reason why you practice scales. why you see every video I open with starts with a scale. As I say, once you know why you do something, you'll get a better understanding as to why you should continue. Why should musicians practice daily? Why am I always opening up with a scale? Not one octave, but two octaves or more, because I want to become proficient, that at any time I want to run off an octave, I don't even have to think about it. My hands will just pick the note, the correct fingering will go to that, which is why you see the numbers laid out for the correct fingering, and then I just practice it. If I make a mistake, I slow it down, and I take my time, and I apply discipline, but I don't spend an hour doing this. What does it say? The last line. This warm-up should be used for the first 3 to 8 minutes of practice on your keyboard. Weighted keyboards are always preferred, but you can do this exercise on any keyboard. You can do this on a wood desk, provided you move your fingers in the order in which the scales are labeled out. And as you can see, if you do the D flat scale, it doesn't start on the first finger like the C scale does. It starts on the second finger, and it shows you how to move where your fingers, in response to this number system here, which finger to use depending upon what scale you're playing on. That's the muscle memory training. But as it says, it's always best to use proper fingering techniques so that you don't put too much stress on your hands. I use the spider technique, where your hand hovers over the keys. Let's see which page had my... Okay, spider. This is the spider. What does the spider do? Its fingers crawl. That's a spider. Not, that's striking. But when you want to play and your fingers do the walk, that's the spider technique. Because it makes it easier to now switch and go to the next key. Switching, 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 and you're back up to here using the proper fingering as laid out. Folder page. What page had it? As laid out by the books. That's where you begin. Learning note the note names and how to properly practice them. 2 octaves I always suggest. 1 octave if you don't have the time, but if you got the time, 2 octaves, because now you're training not only your ears but your hands and your eyes, because you need to know where to find middle C. And if you don't know where to find middle C, that's why you have this chart to let you see where middle C resides on a keyboard and the other associated names that's associated with it. The internet is great in giving you access to information you would have normally paid for. And again, this is what I was doing in 2011. After you've gotten your ears trained to playing the major scale, now you learn the harmonic minor scale. And I picked the harmonic minor scale for a reason. I had found in my years of playing all the different songs that I was presented with to learn, 1 or 2 scales were being used. The major scale or the harmonic minor scale, which sounds like an Arabian scale. But I found that the chords were working through this scale. And as I said, there was a comment made by one of my Facebook Facebook viewers that not all chords are found in the scales, and I had to say no. Every chord is found in a scale. There are more scales than this, and I believe I did do a series on YouTube that gave you all the scales that I was able to locate on the internet. Oh, welcome, the lady T and Wendell. Who else? People have come in. I've got everybody. Yes, I will. Let me do that now. I'll put my email address in the chat so that you can send me an email, and I'll send it directly to those who are asking. Make sure you write it down because when this live is over, the chat will disappear. I believe I got that in there correctly. So just email me at that soundofjoy123 @gmail.com, and I will promptly send you a copy of this. This is how serious I take instructing musicians who want to play for their church. I don't want you just playing indiscriminate chords based on a number system that someone said will make you sound great. You don't sound great. You sound proficient, but you want to get to that great level, then you have to understand that all of this is a part of sounding great, because now you become more than just a player. You become a performer. You now begin to apply basic theory. And this is the basic stuff. This is the new musician stuff. And then I give you your first song to learn as a new musician. Because sometimes if you're given just chords, if you're learning how to play scales, but you're not giving how to use that scale, I give you at this time, this was one of the early praise songs. Our God, E flat, C, D, E flat, B flat, G, F, D, E flat, C. I gave you now what you've been learning as a melody practice, practical use for it. And I give you the chords for your left hand, G, B, E flat. Put those together. E flat, G, C, E flat, G, C, G, B flat, C, F, B flat, D, and I give you a diminished chord in there, and a minor chord. Now you've played your first church song as a new musician. But I also give you the theory that I did not receive as a musician. How these chords are being used at that time in a praise song. As you notice, there's no bass there. Because as a new musician, you need to know where the scales came from, where the chords came from, all based on melody. Then I made you, back then, fill in the scale notes for each of these keys. Now, for those musicians, oh, that's too hard. Well, that's why you had this and why you had this. To go back, as I did in school, you would get a test, but they say the answer to the test is found in the lesson. Because when you write something down, you will remember it more than just saying it or saying it back to yourself. And then those chords that you didn't get, Here are the other chords that you could add to that same song. I made sure that you got more than just a lesson, but you got an understanding. And this is still the new musician. And then you get into the book theory. And the book theory is what teaches now whole tones, half tones, excuse me, whole tones, half steps, chords of the major scales. Again, if you don't have an actual, and I always felt that I didn't really start to understand music until I was able to read a book. And they would often say, if you want to hide chords from a musician, put them in a book. They'll never look there. I just want to bring this over here. And if you didn't have a practice regimen, I purposely put that in there too. I'm just moving this over some so that, because it's split into two, one page split in half. I give an understanding of how you should practice. And if you don't have, if you've never had an actual practice routine, a regimen, I'm sorry, I like to keep things looking in order. There we go, move me around here. If you didn't have a practice routine, this is for the new musician. Now, those who, as I say, the advanced musicians don't need this because they have their own, how they practice and how they learn. But if you've never had one, and if no one ever showed you one, this is the one I would recommend because it helped me get to where I am right now, and I still use it. Again, as a new musician, not a beginner. Beginners don't know that there are notes on the keyboards and how to use their fingering and how to play their first song in E flat, and they've been practicing scales in every key. As a new musician, this is what I recommend if you don't have a routine of practice, which is discipline. That's all this is, it's discipline. What to practice, how long to practice it. Do you need to practice for hours a day? No, something is wrong. You don't give up your life unless you want to become a classical musician and then you're not taking any instruction from me, but you're paying a professional who knows that path. I give the path of you want to play for your local church because there is a necessity, or you just want to be able to be on standby in the event a musician is late, doesn't show up, or there's a multitude of groups that needs a secondary musician. This is what this is for from a new musician standpoint. But the path to go to practice. And this again, I've been doing this since 1999, back in the AOL dial-up days. This is version 8 of this book. Actually, there is another version that I have not shown yet. It's I don't know if I should show it. It's some of what's on here, but I added a lot more in there for two-hand chords. But let's get the one hand. So 1, pray. You got that from the very beginning. 2, start with fingering. That's in the first part. 3, practice triad inversions in every key. Those were, was that shown? Let me just go back. How can I expect you to practice triads if I didn't give that to you? Okay, that's further on in the book. That's why it's not there. That's why this is on a separate section. But triads, these are triads. That's a triad. 1, 2, 3, 3 chords. And inversions. Root, first, second. Root, first, second. Root, first, second. Root, root, first, second. Those are triads, and that's how you practice them in every key. And once you get good at it, you're not really spending a whole lot of time doing it. Now, those are the majors. If you want to get expansive, do it in minors. Because the more you practice something, the more you will hear it being used in music, and you will already be tuned to what it sounds like, and your hands and muscle memory will know how to go and find it in that particular key. Where was I at? Practice chord progressions and transition chords in D. Chord progressions. Okay, they are further on in the book. Chord progressions. Again, scales, chords, and progressions. Even back then, I was trying to drill that into the head, get that concept. Every song you hear is made up of a scale, chords, and progressions, which is the jazz terms, analogies for being able to bounce around or to add flavor to a chord. Those are progressions. Those are progressions. Chords, melody, scale, chord, progressions. Those are progressions. Pathways to get to the chords. To the 5, 1. When I get to the 5, so to the thing. Diminish. There it is. Progressions. Had to think about that one. 5. Take a break. Ooh, goodness. And I see that I am out of water because I did put that in there. I already drank my bottle of water. And because you don't want to be playing so much that your hands start to hurt. Using the spider technique, which is what which I've shown you, will eliminate you getting calluses in between your knuckles. I've been playing all these years and I've never had pain in my fingers ever, not even a hint of pain, no stiffness in my arm, because I knew how to hold my wrist at a level to where I was always comfortable when playing. Let's see, go to that page. Here we go. I always played like this. I never played like this. Yes, if I'm in a service and I need to get the piano louder because I didn't have amplification on an acoustic piano, then I would play harder. But I would never bang. Some musicians, you see them banging across the keys. No, I would never bang. If I could not play where I can just play like this, then I didn't need to be heard. I'd just be a part. Hopefully, I get to be able to play in the actual intro of a song. This is why you would practice inversions. If you wanted to do "Oh Give Thanks," that's what all of that movement is, all that practice is for, so that you can hear the melody, hear the chords, hear the progressions. So you got the progressions, the chords, and the melodies all working in harmony, and the lowest note is your bass, which is the support for all of that. Progressions, melody, chord, progressions, chord progressions, 2, 5, 1, chord, walk down progressions to get to the 5, progressions 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, G flat, progressions, melody at the top, just scale, progressions, a jazz turn, diminish, melody, which is scales, progressions and chords, 2, 5, 1, change keys without a transpose button. because you practice inversions, progressions, the pathway to understanding music is to start with the basics. Losing my page. Start with the basics, scales, apply the chords, which is why I say practice chord inversions, and then the progressions, which are the jazz terminologies, 2-5-1, 6-2-5-1. But assign chords that help for you to sculpt what sound you want to be able to. I struggle with most of the congregational songs. Congregational songs is jazz, pure jazz, because it is, congregational songs are, how do I put them? It's like freestyle playing. It is probably the most freest as a musician you're ever going to be. Let me see if I can hook in my congregational. Let's see if I can put that in there. Let me do this. All right, let me disappear a little bit here. Let's see if I can open this up. And let's go here. See if I can put that in there. Let me do this. All right. This should give me my congregational playing. There we go. Now, congregational singing, where's my volume on this? That's the Baptist speed. All your songs have congregational singing is based upon what style of music did the previous musician give that church. This speed is at 83 tempo per minute is the Baptist speed. If you wanted to do call, let's see, hold to his hand, God's unchanging hand, this is the speed you want. F. Now the musicians play this too fast sometimes, and they lose their audience. But that is straight jazz. Two, 5, 1. Because I understand the movement of a bass player in jazz, I can use the left hand to emulate the bass player. Bum, 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 bum. 2, 5, 1. Now, because it's congregational, they're doing the melody, so you're just going to chord. This is why you practice chords. 2, 5, 1. Now the runs are scales. Jazz for congregational playing. Hold to it, hold to the minors, God's unchanging and turn. Ding ding 2, 5, 1. change key. Same concept. Now you change your chords. Change key. Bum, bum. Remember this one. Change key again. The bounce. Bounce. So all of this is borrowing from spirituals, anthems, those basic chords, borrowing from the scales, which allow you to find the melody path, and then applying the chords, which is the different inversions, major or minor, diminished, depending upon which ones you choose, and then the style. I choose the jazz style. Now, is it wrong to choose the jazz style? No, it's just chords, patterns, and progressions. That's all. When I say 2-5-1, 2-5-1, 2-5-1, 2-5-1. Pathways to get you to different parts of the song. Wherever the melody takes you, it has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Progressions gets you there. You can only do progressions by applying the number system 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with the diminished chord, and back to the 1. Pick and choose which progressions you want to use and how you want that progression to sound, either a major or a minor. You make that choice based upon how you practice. But I like that question about you playing congregational songs. You struggle with the most. Congregational songs is a practice session for you. Let me go back to the page I was doing. There we go. Congregational songs is a practice session. When, as you saw me right there, I was changing keys. I was practicing. I was looking at the path of that particular song, a nice rhythm background that's not run away in church. Of course, it can run away. That's why you always want to start with a slightly slower rhythm, knowing that it's going to progress with normal participation. Now, of course, they use click tracks now. Back in my day, there were no click tracks, so I set the tempo, unless somebody just was, really rambunctious in their energetic clapping. But I try to set the tempo to where it was comfortable for congregational singing. Like if you were doing I'm Running for My Life, they always run away with that song. Well, you kind of was at the mercy of the congregation for that type of song. But the traditional, like Can't Nobody Do Me Like Jesus, where's my listing? 1 second, I have a excuse me, I'm from the old school where we wrote things on paper and we don't throw things away. I had put together back in 2000, no, it's 19 something. What year did I do this? Let me change my scene here. This is live. Somewhere back in the 1990s, had to be 1995, I put together a listing of, let me see if you can't see that, your favorite praise and testimony songs. And I began to write in what I would hear the congregation use every time there was a congregational service, I began to write down what were the songs they would most likely go to, and I would provide this to the, at that time we called them testimony song leaders. We call them praise team song leaders now, to where if they're standing there and they don't know a song to start, look at what I put together. Again, I was always being inventive in supporting churches and those who participate in music. If you didn't know what song to start, pick the ones that are common, what I call song starters. And if you didn't know the lyrics, you now had that in your hand. What there wasn't was a music at that time. Back then, it was no internet to where I could pick the keys. And back then, depending upon who started the song, well, see, I even made, again, I don't throw stuff out. I even made extra copies to pass out. And you can see Sound of Joy Productions. That's who I started as Sound of Joy Productions, Sound of Joy Music Services now on the internet. But that's what I would present to song leaders so that they wouldn't stand there and be at a loss what to sing. They could look down the list, and Hold to His Hand is not on here because I was in a Kojic church. We didn't sing Hold to His Hand. That was a denominational thing. Even though Kojic church came out of the Baptist church, that's history. That's still not out of the water. But some songs were back then common that you heard wherever you were. And once you learned the particular style, you knew that you can apply a jazz song like to Let God Arise, The Enemies Be Scattered. That was one of the newer testimony songs that were from the early praise songs. Love Lifted Me, Jesus, Wonderful Jesus Is to Me. Storm Cloud on the Ocean was not on there, but I think I wrote that in. Yes, I wrote in Storm Cloud on the Ocean. Bless that wonderful name of Jesus. Come by here, Lord. Somebody prayed for me. That was added in. Can't Nobody Do Me Like Jesus was common amongst all churches. Same chords, it's just a different pattern. But once you understood where the song was going, pick a pattern. Pick a major, minor, diminished way. Highway to Heaven. I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord. Traditional. I made a vow to the Lord. Traditional. And I won't take it back. That was traditional. Running for My Life. Jesus is real to me. When I think of the goodness of Jesus, living, He loved me, dying, He saved me. That's the Donnie McClurkin song, but that used to be congregational. Buried, He testified. Buried, He carried my sins far away. Rising, He justified. Freed me forever. One day He's coming back. Oh, what a glorious day. Good congregational, fast-paced song. I'm not going to pick that up because somebody needs to bother me on my stream. My Soul Loves Jesus, The Windows of Heaven Are Open, another Sunday night testimony song. These are the congregational songs of my era. I put it like that. I keep saying earlier days. I keep thinking I'm still 20 and I'm not. Long way from it. When I think of the goodness of Jesus, let's see what else is on this list. Jesus, I'll never forget what you've done. You don't sing these songs anymore, but back in my time, these songs were common to be be sung, and usually testimony service lasted 20 minutes, and people, after they would sing a song for 5 minutes, want to testify for 10 more. They'd always be calling for a new song from the congregation. So congregational playing is call and response. Somebody starts a song, I made a vow to the Lord to get the answer back, and I won't take it back, and then you just go on with it. But from a musician standpoint, from my standpoint, I always wanted to make sure that musically I could support whatever key it was in, whatever tempo they were picking. If they didn't pick a tempo, then I would either keep it in as a governor. If you know what a governor does in the car, it doesn't allow an engine to run away with itself, but it sets a limit as to how far it can go. So it wasn't like if somebody started off at 166 beats per minute, I kept up with it. No, I brought it down to 145. Let's not wear people out because the person starting the song has got a lot of energy. I was sometimes criticized for trying to slow the service down. No, I want to keep it pace, keep it, as the Bible says, in decent and in order. All right. How long have I been on here? 2 hours and 18 minutes. Are there any other questions before I bring this to a close? I was sharing my workbook, which I got emailed. I check my emails, who I'm going to send it to. As I say, whenever I do these lives is when I get an opportunity to perhaps meet people in the different time zones who don't catch me when I normally do a live. Let me see if Alex, you sent me an email. No, you don't have to pay for it. I do accept donations, as you can see. I do post my Cash App and my PayPal link. If you want to donate, you don't have to. I don't ask for it, but I do give people the opportunity if they can appreciate the freely given information that's going to assist them with becoming the best version of themselves. I do give you that opportunity. There you go. This page has it. I give you that opportunity to support through your donations. I do have a Patreon site. My Patreon site, and I will do again a little promo, is $5 per month and you can cancel it anytime you want, but you do get access to more content and more in-depth content than what I'm allowed to do here or on YouTube, where you see that you get to hear the full song and get the fuller breakdown. You get MIDI files, you get audio files I've done in the past. You get more information that that also all the second workbook I believe is on the Patreon site. Again, for those who do support the site with your gracious donation, I try to give back more than what I do on the YouTube site, because the YouTube site is for everybody, everywhere. The Patreon site is for those who want to support me and the work, and it helps me with getting headphones, getting microphones, getting lighting, paying for the access to the different sites that I get or more information from. So that helps me to defray some of the monthly costs. As I said, when I'm currently working in Studio One, because I want to be able to create some more music files with a better sound. So that's an investment that I made. Thanks to your actual viewership, I am monetized, and your viewership allows ads to run, which allows YouTube to compensate me for allowing an ad to run on this site. And through that compensation, so it's not a lot of money, but it's enough to pay for subscriptions and to pay for equipment. So that's what I use that for. I'm not running out buying crab legs, but I am turning it back into what I'm doing here so that I can continue to support those of you who request my support. Let's bring back up. Wendell, welcome. I just see your, let me just pull this out. There we go. I see your question. What techniques do you use to find your key? It is the easiest one in the world. It is practicing the scales in every key and training your ear to recognize where middle C is. This is one of the downfalls of using the transpose button. You lose your pitch. My pitch is middle C. Let me see if I can find middle C. I'm off by half a pitch. Off by full pitch. I try to use middle C as my bass pitch. So my home key or pitch. I don't have perfect pitch. I have relative perfect pitch. In other words, I can be within a full note or a half a note away from what I'm listening to. So if somebody starts singing a song, and if you listen to me talk, you may hear that I am melodic in how I talk. I'm not high pitched down here, and I'm not low pitched down here, but I'm sort of in the middle, usually around that B flat, that middle C range. That lets me hear somebody start to sing a song, and though I'm not a singer, and I often say I'm not a singer, but I can hear notes when they're sung incorrectly. If they're in a scale, let me see if I can find my pitch again. Ba-da-da-da-dum. Ba-da-da-dum. Bum, 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 bum. E flat. Bum, G flat. Bum. B flat, A flat, A flat. Generally, I can hear the chords that I'm playing, so I'll know when it doesn't. If I don't hear it correctly, if I can't emulate it, then I know that I'm not listening or I'm not hearing it correctly. So if I were to use the transpose button and middle C sounds like D flat, I'll be crossed up because my internal pitch will say that's not the correct place for that note, fingering wise. Because as I play each chord, my fingers know to fall here. They know to fall there. They know to fall there based upon what that sounds like. To the point where I don't have to look at, I can cover my eyes and know that that's C. D, C, D, E, F, G, A, B diminished C. I know I'm in D now, diminish. I know I'm in E flat. There it is. Let's see. D. Minor, major, 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 diminish. Minor, diminish. There we go. F. F. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminish, major. So I'll know once I get into the key correctly, my fingers and the sound will tell me where the chords are. So I can oftentimes be playing, thinking about what chords I want to use and just keep playing and then just automatically go get them. If I want to go to F and I'm not looking at the keyboard, I can look real quick and I know where F is. Missed that time because I'm on an actual swivel chair. But your ears are your best friend, and your playing of scales becomes your second best friend because songs are part of scales. If somebody starts singing a solo, generally I would ask them, what key do I play? And they say, well, just follow me. That means they don't know what key that they normally sing well in. You're at the mercy of a person who don't know what key they sing in, of course, and that sometimes they could have a sore throat. Then you really shouldn't be singing if you got a sore throat. Most times you will hear somebody sing, well, I'm doing I Won't Complain. I Won't Complain is usually done in the key of A flat for a alto singer. If it's a soprano singer, they should lower the key down to F because of the highest note. Did I got that correct? No, soprano do it in A flat, and alto singer should do it in F because that highest note is going to have them screaming. But if you don't know the melody path of that song, then you'll be trapped by a singer who doesn't know their key. So generally, if I hear a soprano and they say, well, I'm going to be singing I Won't Complain, I'll start playing the key. Now you see I went right to it. All in the scales. I won't complain. There's the highest note. Because I know that's going to be the path of the song, I try to pitch the song or help pitch the song for the singer. And I Won't Complain is a jazz song. Diminished chord. Minor 6, 7. Jazz turn into a chord progression. Jazz chords, progression, 2, 5, 1. Now you're in the 4. This is the turn I use. 2, 5, 1 in C sharp, C minor, or E flat, diminished chord, minor 6. It only comes natural to you when you practice in every key. Now, let's say they wanted to start in, somebody says, well, I sing in B, in the key of B. Like, I'll be like, huh? Okay, B, Now I'm locking in. There go my chords. Now I'm in an unfamiliar key, but I'm looking for the progressions. My first of all chords, melody is the scale, chords are the landing point for the scale, progressions give me a path to the landing points. Progress 2, 5, 1. Progression, scale, chords, scales, chords, scales, chords, scales and chords, and progression. Now I know the next chord is going to be a high E flat. Straight. 2, 5, 1. Now throw the jazz turn in there for color. There it is. I never played it in the key of B major, so now you see me working my ears to hear the melody of the song, the chords that will support the melody based upon the number system, and then the progressions that support the chords. How do you want to get from the 1 to the 4? Well, take the 2, 5 to get to the 4 chord. Those are the building blocks that I've been using for years in understanding music. So finding my keys is understanding practicing rather, the scales, as the workbook said, practicing the scales in every key so that you can hear what it sounds like. The difference between a major and a harmonic minor. The jazz scale is that's the jazz scale. Depending upon the song you're doing, you will hear that scale being used. But the harmonic minor has elements of the jazz scale in it. It's just that being able to change over one note. But you will find that they all fit. You can use them both to accomplish musically what you want to be able to do. Make sure I didn't miss any questions because I've been off my iPad. Come on. How can we go about getting accustomed to playing altered chords? Altered chords. Example 5. Oh. See, now you're getting into the real technical side of chords that I don't go to. I try to get the musician prepared for playing for church, which means the basics: major, minor, I call it harmonic minor, root chords, diminished chords, the sound of a diminished chord, the sound of a minor chord, to get you through a church service. And then when you ask for the breakdown of a song, if it's a traditional song, it's easy. You can apply those same numbers to it. When you get to where you're talking about the altered chords, those are this new wave of reharmonizing chords that uh, I don't operate in. I've been working on trying to transpose songs without chord sheets or anything, and I get hung up on extended and altered chords. Yeah, that's when you begin to go the route of reharmonizing chords. Then that is a personal decision. When when a musician wants to have an identity for how they play a traditional song, that's when you get the, oh, just put this chord underneath, substitute this chord in this melody, and it sounds, the word they use, dope, or it's hot, or it's hot lick. And that's good if you like hot sauce on cornflakes. I don't like hot sauce on cornflakes in my milk. Now, that's the way I have to put it. It's a seasoning of chords that someone that says, well, it's, instead of using this chord, put that chord there. And I'm like, huh? Well, that chord really makes it sound dope. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. I think Bible calls it discord. I like this chord, or you can add this chord there, or you can add this chord there. That's in the structure of the book chords. The altered chords are what that particular style that someone that wants to recreate, that says, but if you just extend the chord out to here, and I'm like, okay, that's nice sounding, but not with greatest thy faithfulness or holy, holy, holy. That kind of takes away from the traditional. And I understand no one wants to be traditional. You want to be identifiable. If they're identifying as an altered chord, again, I don't fight another person's designation to how they want to sound musically. I just know that to get a church musician up to speed to be able to support a service, that's what I want to do. I really want to learn to play by ear. I really need to learn theory and train my ear. Yeah, hearing, playing by hearing, although we say ear because that was the how he put it. Oh, how'd you learn that song? Oh, I played it by ear. Oh, you got down like this? No, you didn't get down and start playing by your ear, but you heard something, and then you went and you searched for what you heard. So I always say play by ear. Once you hear where the notes are, that if you have a keyboard that only has 61 keys, you are limited to what those 61 keys. This keyboard I have right now only has 76 keys because that's what I could afford. I have an 88 key keyboard right behind me there that is the replacement for this keyboard when it finally gives up the ghost. It's been hanging in there with me. So there the 88 key keyboard sits, that when I go to that keyboard, I now have a bigger range of the low end of the chords. But the 76 keyboards from this keyboard from a training standpoint suits me perfectly because it gives me the chords centered around where a 61 note keyboard would be, or a piano would be for a person who is learning to play. So if I give you this note on the bottom, if I were to shift the octaves, that's how muddy it would sound. Keep the octave up. That sounds a lot better than shifting down to compensate for those keys that are missing. That's where the bottom note should be on the 88 keys. Now I got all these other notes that sound horrible because they are below that. That's where the note should normally end. So now all of a sudden middle C is no longer here. Middle C is here and is out of my center. So I know I have an octave shifter on the keyboard, but I keep it where I know middle C is going to be so that I can do my chords where I can know they're going to sound like where my hands are. You have eased a lot of my anxiety. Oh, I'm glad. Music is it's um, a beautiful journey that has. They say what is the term? Music calms the savage beast. Well, I've never been a savage person. I shun fighting only because I fear what I might do to the other person. So I choose not to. I'll always try to avoid a conflict. I'll walk away. I'll do whatever I need to do to avoid a conflict because I don't know what I'm capable of doing if pushed. So, but music has been my go-to to where not when I want to be soothed from what's happening around me, but I want to become creative. As you see me when I'm playing at times, if I'm playing the same song, very rarely will I play it the same way each time. For those that like the one, the two, the four, the five, the four and the five, I have to be in constant motion to my six, to get me to the four, to get me to the three, no, the six, to the four, to the two, to the five, back to the one. So I'm always in thought process. I've heard someone play this chord to get there, to get to the six. I said, that's a nice way to get to the six, but what if I want to go there a different way? And go there that way. Gee, that's a nice way to get there also. Or in two chords, or add more chords to it. That's how musically I think. I'm always in a motion mode. That's what I need also. How you're training church musicians to play for Sunday service. Yes, Sunday is, at least for me, microphone in the wrong spot. At least for me in my era, was the pinnacle of my week or the start of the week. I would get to church 2 hours early just to make sure the instruments were working. Nobody unplugged anything. I used to, and I don't see my bag. I carried a tuning kit for the acoustic piano in my bag. Where's that bag at? I used to have it where I can just pick it up. Because I don't believe in talking something and you don't actually do it. Let me see if I can take a step and find that bag. Be right back. I realize in this age of technology, no one has to um, put themselves in a position where they do double duty. But as a musician whose father was a musician also, and not only a musician but a technician who serviced church organs and church pianos, you kind of adapt to the era, what you were raised in. I carried this is my old bag, a piano tuning kit with me, so that if I came to church and I could sense that the piano was not tuned correctly, there we go. I got a hold of professional piano tuning tools. I don't know if the battery is still good in this or not. This is a Chord. It's the actual guitar tuner. I probably need to. I haven't opened up this thing in so long. I'm sure the battery is probably rotted out. Oh, okay. It's still good. I don't know why it don't come on. They're probably old. But I believed in. Sorry about that. I believe in being prepared. 2 hours before service, I would get to the church and I would pull out, I would start practicing. And if I could hear that the notes had drifted from a week of sitting, I had my tuning kit. Oh, see, it does come on. You can hear it. And I would sit to the acoustic piano, turn that off, the acoustic piano, and I would go and find those strings individual, because these are dampeners which allow me to dampen the strings around the strings, and I would tune them, because the worst thing that a piano player wants to hear is off chord notes. Of course, it throws off their hearing. For those who play on digital keyboards, they'll never have to have a tuning kit. But because of the era in which I was, here it is, my tuning fork. It should be tuned. A440. That is, yep, and it says right on there, that tune, that come in. Give that back. This is my history. I don't think that comes, okay, it should say A440 on it. We don't tune pianos to C, we tune pianos to the key of A, and we start from there. But that's how, the proper word without getting all choked up. That's how serious I take music. I had an instructor in high school that taught music. He was a band leader. He wrote music. He instilled in us how important music is when you're actually performing it. How much discipline that you need to have in order to perform great music, and how you only get great by practicing. Not just performing, but in your practice session, that's where you become great. When you're performing, great is when you know how much music to put out based upon who's listening. What good is it if I could play 100 chords and every time you heard me, I played 100 chords and it sounded like I'm playing 100 chords? Those are the musicians who like to show off, who make the funny faces, who are, you've seen them. I don't have to say what they look like. I see them on, sometimes they post themselves and I go, okay, just play the song. Impress me with how many chords you don't use. I was always a background player. When I did get a chance to be the front guy, the guy on the organ, I remembered my years I spent on a piano unheard because the organ player had the louder instrument. But I had my points in the very beginning of the song, or in the parts of the service where it required more subtle playing, which is why sometimes you can see me play 3 notes on a song and just float around the melody, float around what they call the actual drop 2, and then throw a jazz chord underneath and then around it, because that's the background in which I came up in. And I only became better at doing it as I became more knowledgeable on what chords are available to me and how they're being used in multitude of songs, and not just the church songs. Not just the church songs. But this is what, and I still carry it. In the event I do find myself in a church and I'm asked to perform, and there's an acoustic piano there, I'll have that with me. Another part of what I did is not only play by ear, but create sheet music using electronics. These are songs that I created for the choir the last choir that I played for learned by sheet music. And it was the best 19 years of my life, because now I got the chance to create the music like I hear it, not just with, I don't know if you could see that. Yeah, this was the song I heard, and I created the sheet music, and I put the chords to it so that anybody else who wanted to play the song like I played it, who could read sheet music, can have me on sheet music. And as you can see, this is very thick. This is not all the music that I created. This is my own workbook. But everything in here was created. Uh, this is the I Will Celebrate song you hear me do sometimes. I created it for the choir. I played the music around it, but I created it for the choir members in three-part harmony. As I say, I can hear three-part harmony because I can hear all the scale notes in their proper place for songs. When you get to this level, to where you're not only playing it to hear, but you're playing it to be creative, that's when you know that you can approach that level of understanding in music for a church that says you're looking to give 110% of what you're doing. Let me just reset something here I'm looking at. Okay, it looks better. I'm monitoring myself. You're looking to give 100% of what you're doing. That's where your desire as a church musician. And I've always wanted to go further than church, but it became where if I left, there was no one behind me. And this is what I saw back in 1992 when I began Sound of Joy Sound of Joy Productions back in 1992. I didn't see that musician behind me that would allow me to now branch off into what you see me doing right now. Did I see the internet and this medium right now? Yes, I worked for the IBM Corporation. When I was 17 years old, I was hired by them. I still believe their youngest hire ever out of the New York City area. So I got to see technology that the average person did not see. And yes, I did sign a non-disclosure agreement that I would not talk about what I was exposed to in the research labs of IBM. But I saw the internet, I saw Bluetooth, I saw video, I saw computers before it was made public to those who are now using it, taking it for norm, seeing it on the size of a phone or having a computer in your phone. I saw it first. Saw it in its infancy, in its research stages before it became, just didn't have the technology to shrink everything down, but I saw it when it was huge and in the research stage. So I knew that this era of music was coming, where I saw when you could play on a keyboard and see notes appear on a miniature monochrome screen. And I says, wow, I want to be there. I want to be there because that's how I want to be able to see the notes I play visible on a computer screen. Couldn't talk about it, but I saw it firsthand. So this medium that YouTube has allowed me to have a platform on, again, in the earlier days, it was on AOL. I think if you do a search on the internet, you will find a site called God's Gospel, which has hundreds of MIDI files. You will find probably 100 of my MIDI files there of songs that I would create to share with musicians all around the world who did not have anyone to share the breakdown of chords that are traditional to what you would hear in church. Of course, in this day and age now, as I say, the music has changed. They're not singing these songs anymore, except maybe in selective places. It may come back around. Who knows? That's how the world works sometimes. What was new and what has become old one day will become new again. But if I can keep musicians ready by sharing some of the old things that I had an opportunity to participate in, then that's what I look to do. I've been here now going to 3 hours, but I hope that I'm sharing something that will encourage musicians that come to this site and who of the new era. As I say, beginner is for those who have never touched a keyboard before and only know how to press notes and get a sound out of it. But the minute you begin to apply the basic understanding of scales and playing scales, you are now left beginner, and you've entered in the realm of a new musician. Church musician, that is just another title that is applied to you because you're using that skill for a church ministry. You could be a jazz musician playing at a nightclub. You're still a musician. You could be a concert musician playing at a concert hall. You're still a musician. You could just want to be home playing songs that give you a smile. Then you're a home musician. You put a title on it, but still the last part of it is musician. A person who is able to take an inanimate object which makes no sound on its own and get a pleasing tone out of it. And the well disciplined you are and the well instructed and the more information that you are provided with along with techniques to determine how you sound. When you hear me play the keyboard, I may call out a Richard Smallwood chord. I'm not Richard Smallwood, but it's a chord I learned from playing one of his songs. I think the conversation came up that in Richard Smallwood's song Total Praise, everybody plays one chord incorrect because it sounds gospel, but it was not how it was written. I was playing that chord wrong too until I heard that terminology. I says, oh, let me go back to the song and listen to it. Oh, they're right. I'm playing the wrong chord too because that's the gospel sound. That's this chord. Let's go back to my page. Put on a little weight. That's the incorrect chord in that part of the song. Lord, I will lift mine eyes to that's the gospel chord for that hills. That's the incorrect chord as the song is written. But because we're all gospel musicians, we can't wait to get that chord in there and resolve it. But it's really this chord. That's the correct chord. When I went back after I heard that I'm playing it wrong, I said, no, that's what I heard. Then I was like, no, that's what I heard everybody else play, and that's the familiar chord. But Richard Smallwood is a classical musician. He'll throw that chord in there, diminished chord, when it's time for it, because it does come back later on during the song. That's where it comes into. But in the first part of the song, it's this chord. He'll not hear you. And it's all about understanding. Once you've been given a correction, apply that correction. Now, when I redid my video for Total Praise here on YouTube, the correct chord is in there. And I talk about playing the correct chord. Anyway, I'm always learning something new whenever I start playing. See if I didn't want to miss any comments. Versatile Vic, the D flat chord sounds so good. D flat 9 chord. Oh, that when I was playing that long chord as an idea. Even I forget what that chord was now. D flat's 9. There's a 7th in there. Flat 13. Most times when I play a chord, it's one that I practice, and I'll pull it out for that part of whatever I'm using it for, and I don't know it's there because I'll hear it and I'll go, okay. If I hear it wrong, I'll look back and go, why did I play that chord there? It's all about application for me. Let me see. I'm gonna make sure I didn't leave anyone out. Okay, I got the last statement. That's what I need. Also, how you're training church musicians to play for Sunday services. Yes. Easter anxiety. Just making sure I didn't miss any comments. reset my. I'm on an iPad. It's got to reset the page. Let me do it like this. So as always, I'm thankful for those of you who have come in and spent some time with me. Didn't mean to take this long. I wanted to give a encouraging word to those who come to my page for the first time and who see me doing all these chords and I encourage comments because I can answer a comment. But one person went a little bit further. I said, you know what, that's a little bit farther you need to go. Let's just keep the context on music and the support for musicians who find themselves in a church ministry who needs them. How can I best prepare them to be adequate? And that's only done through practicing. There we go. I got it back. That's only done through practicing. And I give you my suggestions for what to practice, how to practice, how to apply it, not just in the songs you're learning, but songs that are thrust upon you. Sometimes you'll be in the church, at least in the Pentecostal church, the minister or the person ministering can throw a song out there that you've never heard before. How do you support a song? Well, you always want to hear what key the song is in. If someone starts singing the old praise song, I need thee, oh, I need thee, and they're starting it in the key of, we'll go to, let's see, D major. You've practiced all your scales in D major, and somebody starts singing. Well, that's the hymnal version. Let's start on the 5. This chord right here is a turn chord that is built on the whole tone scale. I need a 7th because it's a 2-5-1, but you're taking the long way. The old. Now you're at the 5. I need thee. You're just 7. Walking up diminishes. F. Minor 6, flat 6 to the 5. Stay in the 5. Follow the scales. Flat 7th on the D flat. There's another half tone. Whole tone. To the 4. Oh, bless. Now, you can do a lot here. You can go minor. That is the Pentecostal turn. Diminish now, my say. You can go to the diminish up to the 6. The jazz turn. Or the Richard Smallwood chords. I've come. Why do I say the Richard Smallwood turn? The Amen. That's why I call it the Richard Smallwood turn. I come. Stay in the 5, jazz turn, 2, 5, 1. Oh, on the 6th chord of Oh How I Love Jesus, dominant 7, flat 9, depending upon the key, dominant 7. See, I know that what the dominant chord is. That would be in the major family. You want to flat the ninth note. If I were to flat the ninth note, yeah, I'd have to hear that chord. Oh, how much Jesus. That's a dominant chord. I'm trying to find that terminology. There's my 6. On the 6th chord. As I say, without a reference for what a dominant chord looks like, and that would be in the jazz book to find that reference. I don't think any of the books I have speak to the dominant chords. They speak to the generic chord names as they stretch out. That's what I have to look at. So I have to do my search on dominant chord structures. And I generally would use Chat GPT to give me the internet correct name for it. And perhaps something that I need to look at after I get through with my next series, Sunday Organ Church Chords, which is coming up. Really excited about that because you're going to get the chords I used on Sunday morning for all types of songs, not just hymns, but during the moment of praise, shouting chords, the Sunday morning church organ chords, the drawbar settings. I'll have the foot pedal sounds also because on this setup, I do have MIDI foot pedals attached. And I'll just give the technique to developing your own sound based upon learning what you've heard someone. And I also will bring in some of the Corey Henry stuff, not all of it, but some of the Corey Henry chords. I'll pull some of his videos and we'll take a look at. I generally don't break down musicians, but he does a lot of stuff with church chords. I'll pull out some of his earlier videos, not the later ones, but the earlier ones, because they're all pretty much same. He just has techniques that he develops. But just to hear some of those, and we'll pull up Glenn Gibson also, his chords, because he puts them on the internet. I can go and listen to them, and others, even Joey DeFrancisco and some of his moves that he uses in his playing. It's all, again, a mixture of classical and jazz and spirituals to give you that church sound. So if you have no other questions, I've been talking a lot. I talked my way through lunch. So I'm not sure if I'm going to go get a Subway and get a tuna salad sandwich or what. But I do thank you for spending this time with me. I will answer the emails to those of you who have emailed me for my course workbook. Now, it's from 2011, so there's nothing updated. Any links in it are long gone. 2011, I had a website. I don't have one now. I have YouTube. But the information is still relative to educating. And I should cover this too. It's not just for new musicians. I'll speak to this and then I will go. It's not just for new musicians. If you looked at what I put on there, it's also for intermediate musicians. And those are the ones that I tailored to if you've been playing for a church over 5 years and you're already active and no one has shown you. As you can see, this is still for the new musician. These are the different chords I said that you should practice. And Oh How I Love Jesus is in there in the key of C in a block chord format. You need to hear how lyrics can be supported with chords. This I created just as an idea for the intermediate musician. And I put this purposely out for the musician who finds yourself currently serving as a church musician and playing for choirs or praise team. This course is going to assist you in finding your place in ministry as you're growing in confidence serving the local church. So it's really more than just playing chords. That's when you're sitting down. But what happens in between that? So I give you, Sammy says, as a new musician, it's very important to establish a foundation in music theory first. That's what we covered. And I know you want to play all that fat chords and you want to shout the house chords. There's plenty of time to learn that. Trust me, right now I want you to become a well-rounded musician, able to play at a moment's notice any song that is relative to the church service you're ministering in. To accomplish this, I have made available reference materials at the end of this workbook, and I suggest in your practice time you view the information provided for your education. Again, it's all about knowing what is available to you as a musician serving the church. Practice the lessons for your skill set and learn them well. I will have quizzes throughout the course, which I did put courses. Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting information. And then I give you breakdowns. At that time, this was one of the newer praise songs in 2011. I give you a different look at how I break down a song to train someone. Melody, chords, bass notes, and then there go the progressions or the different set of chords you can add. Then information as to how you conduct yourself in a music department, building a choir, a listing of how you should tailor your life. Again, it's not all about music. That's me at the last ministry I was. I was the music director and the organist, and I borrowed some information that they had provided for me playing in that denomination. So I shared that one also with musicians. Again, giving you instructional information that's not always tailored to music. And yes, thought this would be an easy course? No way. I use every one of these above techniques in my hymn playing. And if you follow my example, I will teach you to improve your understanding of a hymn playing using these techniques. And that's all this information right there. At that time, these were the type of songs that were necessary to support 80% of the churches out there. The different, again, they don't have, this is not really being used anymore. This is 2011, so what, it's 13 years old, but you got information. Then I wanted you to get comfortable learning how to play notes from a book. Why? Because if somebody puts a hymn book in front of you, you need to know how to finger those notes, again, in your instruction. Music is not just playing four chords, but it is accepting that you are going to go down an endeavor that is going to follow you the rest of your life. Why not get the training that's going to help you? Forget these no longer exist. And then the advanced musicians. Now, this part of it is what I said. If you're an advanced musician, you don't need me. But to help the intermediate musician, we give you an introduction to going from keyboard to organ. I don't have this software anymore. I use a different software, but it is the same concept. So that if you do go to the Hammond organ, which is every musician's dream to sit on the Hammond organ, you need to know what to do when you get there. So here are drawbar settings that I use and some that I was able to garnish from the internet, which would help you acclimate yourself to playing on a physical organ, which is way different than playing on a keyboard. No transposer. You have two manuals and foot pedals to worry about. Which hands do you use when you play chords? Do you play chords on the top, chords on the bottom? Yes. The answer is yes. You use both wherever you are more comfortable. And to get you settings that you can use, ready-made settings, that's what these were, so that you can get through a service, but in your own time is when you practice and create your own settings for your sound. And I give you how to properly turn an organ on without burning out the motor in them. Why? Because my father was a Hammond organ technician and I worked with him. So you get an understanding what an organ is and how to properly turn it on and what not to do. How to pull on the drawbars and don't break them. How to not stomp on an organ. And if you're hearing the distortion, chances are tubes are worn out. That's when you alert your deacons or your trustees that the organ is in need of repair, because this is what you learned about what happens. They will thank you because they'll know that you care about the sound that's being emulated from your church. Church musician do's and don'ts. You need to have that also. Again, this is not about music when you get into the ministry part. I give you that information. And then I tell you to take a break. These are progressions. These are the chords that you see me playing and I throw into any song in any key. How they are formed. And again, these are learned, when you've learned the beginning of what's in this workbook, these become easier to apply to what you currently do. You get an assignment, of course. If you've never played the preacher chords, I give you what preacher chords are, basic. A basic pattern of how to use them. These links may no longer be active, but I give you my basic preacher chords and how I use them, not just in one key, but in every key. And I've gone over this before in the past, but it's always good to rehash information. And as you can see on page 23, then I give you the breakdown of what hymns were, because nobody plays hymns anymore. It's only because they've never been instructed on what a hymn is, how it was created, who created it, how many hymns there are. When I played for the United Methodist Church, I never saw a hymnal with 900 hymns in it. So yes, I had some learning to do, which is why I gave you learning how to read basic hymnals. And we touched on some of the songs that are now current at that time. In the Name of Jesus was a early praise song in the key, and this came out of the what book did I get this from? I want to say it was the African American Heritage Hymnal. Yes, it was. And the songs that you would have heard in the Pentecostal church. And of course, from Kirk Franklin. Someone asked a question. Now, that doesn't have his chords in it, but if you learned your chords, you can apply them to that melody. This did not turn out right, so I'm not going to worry about it. This is the most important part of this book, where every musician needs to have a reference guide as to where the chords come from. And I cover this in our opening of our essential piano chords. This is the chord book that helped me really get a big understanding as to all the chords I play. And I covered this in our first few lessons. These are all the chords you hear me talk about. Major sevenths, the minor sevenths, the major sixths. These are the chords you see me play. This is what's in the book. These are the chords other musicians hide from you. Not just in one key, the C, but in D flat, in E flat, in E, in F, in G flat, in G major, in A flat, in A, in B flat, in B major. All the chords you see me play and morph into other chords come from this information that is here. So now that you've seen um, a snippet of what I do, this gets you prepared for all of the lessons that I have on this site, where the better prepared you are from a theory standpoint, the better comfortable you will be in applying all of those chords that I show. Thank you for those who are still watching. I think I still see 4 concurrent viewers. I always like to acknowledge those who are here. Brother Mitchell, Josiah, Benjamin, Versatile Vic, Larry, thank you, Alex, Jonathan, Wendell, the Lady T. Let's see, I don't miss anyone. I got Wendell, T2. Yes, I got everybody. Thank you for spending some time with me. As I say, these videos always stay up because I'm always sharing some concept of the, not only music, but the ministry of music that a musician may not get on a Sunday morning while they're ministering, and they may not get when they go to a workshop or a shed session where they're just showing chords and everybody is just displaying what they're able to do. I try to be as broad in my presentation as I possibly can, and then narrow it down to really what it is that you are looking to accomplish by coming to my site. As I say, there are several sites, dozens, even hundreds of other sites that are also teaching you music and the approach to music. I try to narrow it down to the musician who wants to serve a local church ministry, be it in your township, in your county, or in your state. I try to cover what you could possibly expect from a music standpoint and what you possibly expect from a ministry standpoint. As always, if you have any questions, leave a comment, leave a like. I got a video for the like, comment, and share, but it's on another computer. I have to bring it down to this computer so that you're reminded that your likes and your comments and your sharing does help this channel. It helps me to be able to continue to upgrade the equipment that I have to give you what I like to say is the best church musician instructional content on the internet. So thank you again, and I will get to you soon as I come off this live. I'm gonna go get me a snack, and then I'll email out that workbook that I used back in 2011 to those who have sent me an email. Thank you again for spending time, and as always, make a joyful noise unto the Lord. Take care and be blessed.